Our next talk is about design your thinking. And the speaker for the same is Sudhindra, who's the Chief Design Officer at IBM Interactive Experience. As a design leader, he designs environments conducive to creating meaningful designs that connects with people. He creates order from chaos through design. So over to you, Sudhindra.
Thank you so much, Smita. Thanks a lot. And that is a wonderful talk. Before this, I hope you can hear is my voice coming through?
Yes, we can hear you clear.
Okay, great. Okay. So let me just make sure that I share my screen. So, yeah, so let me ask humankind's most asked questions these days, which is, can you see my screen? And can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And we also see your notes if you want to put it on a presentation mode.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. So now, because it's in full screen, I won't be able to see any chat comments. I would request you to please guide me if there is any questions on the chat. Hello all, and thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts around designing your thinking, or especially around leadership in today's world of startups. So my name is Sudhindra, and I'm the Chief Design Officer for IBM iX in India. And I started off my journey many years ago. When I started off that journey, it was very interesting, right? So it was not that people were looking at designers in a way of changing the game for the organization. They looked at design as a support function. Since then, we have now moved on to the world where design is leading the way. So what I'm going to talk about today is how you can lead by design in this world of uncertainty that we just saw earlier on. I also run a channel called Leader by Design on YouTube. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel and go through what I have out there. My website is leaderbydesign.com.au, and I work right now in IBM iX in India, in this region, as the Chief Design Officer. One of the big things that I've seen in my experience now is that we are explorers of a multi-dimensional space. So what does it mean? The startups of today, for example, right? It's such a heartening ecosystem that we are in today. But all of us occupy a multi-dimensional space. It's wrong to think that all of us are have ideas that the singular ideas that can change things for the better. But it is a connecting of the dots. It is about connecting empathy with engineering. It is about connecting artificial intelligence with natural creativity. That's the kind of space that we operate in. We are explorers of a multi-dimensional space. And that's exactly why we need to move further, than how we have been thinking our own lives till now. A startup of today needs to think like a futurist thinker, needs to see many years ahead. They need to think like activists, people who are creating the change makers. In essence, what you are is you're a leader of sorts. So you kind of lead the whole generation into the next area. We see that all around us in all the examples that is around us as well. The best of the examples that we have, some of these beautiful examples that we always hear of, be it Google, be it Uber, be it Airbnb, these are examples of startups that were startups not very long ago. So, the kind of responsibility that we have is to be a leader of in our own right. That brings to my question: what is leadership really? Right. So there are multiple definitions of leadership, but one of the big ones is this, right? So leadership is a process of social influence that maximizes the efforts of others. And that's one way of looking at it. It's about getting a lot of people together towards the achievement of a certain goal. You can also say the same thing to be seen in a different way, right? You can also say the purpose of which something is built, something is designed. We spoke about purpose just earlier. So the purpose itself could be leadership. But the most favorite definition of that I have is what you see below. How do you most help most people? It's something I borrowed from Robin Sharma's talks, and where he talks about what is leadership. It's about actually helping the most people. How can you most help most people? Isn't it what we all thought about when we wanted to start our own startup journeys? That's exactly how we've thought about it. How do we most help most people? And that's what is leadership all about. It's as simple as that. In all of these things, you must have seen different facets that are coming out. It brings out, essentially, these are different aspects. Purpose, first of all. Leadership is about purpose. It's about meaning. It's about thinking larger than ourselves and our surroundings. It's also about vision. So seeing into the far future, into the near future, and to be able to set goals accordingly and take people along. That's where team comes in. If you don't have a team, you're not a leader. But most important of all is to have the right kind of outcomes that we've set out to do out there. When I'm talking about purpose, what is the kind of purpose I'm talking about? Right. So we all have our purpose, right? So all of us, want to make sure that our children, study in the best schools. We have a great family life. We do want to buy the best car. We want our businesses to do really well on the stock market and so on and so forth. We really want all of that. But is that the purpose that I'm talking about? While they all are purposes, I'm talking about something much larger than what it could be. As we can see in this particular example. In this example, the purpose that drove Carlos Rodriguez Pastor, who is the CEO of Intercop, was very different. His purpose was to have a longer lasting democracy in a country like Peru. That was his purpose. So this person that you see out here, he was vice president in Citibank in New York in the 90s. And one fine day, he got a call from his father who said that, son, please come to Peru. And I've bought a bank called Interbank. I want you to work with me. So understandably, Carlos Rodriguez Pastor Jr. said, well, why would I want to do that? I'm in a nice, cozy apartment here in New York. Why would I want to come over now? And I'm doing well in a multinational company. Why would I want to join the smallest bank in Peru? So his father gave a different take on it. He said, don't think of it as the smallest bank. Think of it as the 25th largest bank in Peru. That was his call. That was his orientation to come and take over the bank in a few years. So he went to Peru. He worked with his father very closely, and he built out the whole group called the Intercorp group today. In that group, he set out to make sure that the middle class families of Peru are strong and a robust entity, because in a country where democracy is at a premium, right? So they're in 109 years, they have seen about 22 military coups. So in that kind of a country, democracy, which we take for granted, is something that is not very easily available. So for him, the biggest purpose that he wanted to achieve through his company was to have longer lasting democracy. So from that time onwards, he did a lot of things to make sure the middle class families continue to be stronger. So he has set up schools, K-12 schools. He has supermarkets, banks, so on and so forth. And not only that, he's quite profitable too. They are now the fourth largest bank in Peru. And not only that, they are by far the most profitable. They are the first ones to bring in internet banking, and they are known for their future thinking and vision. They've also built La Victoria Lab to continue to improve the lives of Peruvian families through human-centered innovation. That is what I call as purpose. And when you can have such a large canvas at play, then you automatically are are at the forefront of everything. And that's one of the things that I would like us to look at. When you have a purpose in place, you also have to have a vision that you can see. A purpose is why you exist. Vision is about how you exist in a certain time frame. So let's take the example of what Patagonia did in the last few years. So they became very famous in the last about 5, 6 years when they put out an ad on when they put out an ad on the Boxing Day sales on the 26th of December. They said, "Do not buy this jacket." That was that was their ad that they put out. And what they wanted to actually share with that was, "Don't buy this jacket because we are not helping the planet by continuing to show this animal-like consumerism." So that is their message that they wanted to share out there. So that is why they put this beautiful ad out there, and post that, they just did not make it lip service. They created something called Worn Wear. Now, to take a step back, what is Patagonia? Patagonia are involved in high-tech and adventure kind of sports in trekking and mountain climbing and all of that stuff. That's what they are involved in. They make gear for that. They make clothes for that. So naturally, the more new stuff that they sell, the better they are. I mean, they are more profitable if they do that. But while doing so, they're also going to burn up a lot of natural resources. For example, water and everything else that goes along with it. So what they said is, why can't you repair what you already have? You are going to use it not very frequently, once in a while, and then these are sturdy gear. All you need to do is repair a little bit, and then you can actually use it again. That's the concept that they went with. What that does is it actually hurts their business in a way, isn't it? Because they make money by making new stuff. But the point that they were trying to say is that we stand for a certain value. Because they stand for that value, today I'm even, many years later, thousands of kilometers away, I'm actually sharing this story with all of you. The kind of mind share that they have grabbed with this kind of alignment to value is like never before. So they have this thing called Wornware, which is what they continue to do even today. So that's what I mean by vision, something that people can relate to over a period of time, and that's the kind of vision I'm talking about. In IKEA has this innovation lab called Spaces on Wheels. The kind of question that they had was, when autonomous cars was the talking, when it was the talk of the town, what they came up with was this concept called Spaces on Wheels. And they asked themselves, what does a furniture company have to do with an autonomous car? So let's see what they have. I have a small video for you all to see. what they did here, interestingly, was that they created various concepts through um, through the autonomous cars and through the concept of the autonomous cars. And they said, what if I have a mobile cafe? What if I had a mobile office? What if I had a mobile hotel? And what does it mean to the world? And so they created that, and that's the kind of innovation and the game changing stuff that they're working on currently. So it's a lab that is exclusively dedicated to game changing innovation, and you can see that coming alive. Similarly, there is this company called Center for Human Tech who are thinking about how we can have technology designed for human values. Today, technology helps people reach the next level, scale great heights, and help human beings reach to the next frontier. That's the use of technology really today. But what if it was designed for human values? How does it look like? So they are looking at um, this kind of a story, and let us see what they have to say.
You've too often been sitting at an airport or crammed onto a middle seat of a plane at some horrid hour, either late at night or early in the morning. And you're thinking to yourself, why didn't I just spend those extra $40 on that other flight? We like to think that we're making conscious choices, but when we're all in a rush, the more we rely on the menus in front of us. Hipmunk is a travel website that recognized this, and they let you sort choices by human values. It's not just price or duration, but they let you sort by agony. They do this because they ask themselves, what is sorting for a price or duration about? It's not just about the raw numbers, it's about the human experience and values behind travel. So it's important to ask ourselves, what are the human values at stake in this choice? Another example where technology can help us live by our values could be when you're looking for directions from point A to point B. Of course, we know we could walk, but what if, since you've told your phone in your settings that you've been wanting to exercise, it put a choice on life's menu that said, or you could walk, and here's the fitness goal you could achieve by doing so. Or maybe in your settings, instead of valuing exercise, you've said you valued productivity, so it offers up a podcast you might like to finish in that time. 28 minutes left in the podcast, 30-minute walk, it's on your team. There could be menus that sort choices by what matters to you. We can upgrade the goal from getting to point A to point B efficiently to getting from point A to point B well. And remember, no one decides what well means to you but you. What if technology was on your team to help you live by your values?
So this is what the last sentence is pretty much summarizes. What if technology was in your team? And that's the question. When we are thinking of great ideas, game-changing ideas from technology, can we also think about how we can have technology played in the same team as human beings? And that's the question that Center for Human Tech asks, and that's the vision that they operate with. DesignX is a great concept by one of the leading designers of our era. His name is Don Norman, and what we are looking at is the way we can solve some really complex problems. So design thinking has been used to solve quite complex business problems, but this one goes even beyond that. Societal problems, such as malaria in Africa. So how do you solve that particular problem? You can't solve by installing a few solutions here and there and finishing up with it. It doesn't work like that. So you got to use the community's experts, people who have been doing this for a long time, give them tools that are necessary, using the design approach, and we as designers go as facilitators into these communities and then solve that particular problem. So it's like a socio-economic enterprise. Of course, it is not for profit, but you can apply it in several areas. How do you take these teams along, which have their own built-in experts, along with the expertise from outside, and kind of combine that to solve a community's problem? So that's what the DesignX is attempting to do, and that's what we mean by carrying teams along across these diverse set of teams. All of these, as I said, leads to outcomes, and then there are great outcomes we're talking about. Some of these outcomes you can look at which is especially companies that employ design thinking. You can see that they've been amazing in terms of numbers. So over a 10-year period, when the Design Management Institute did a bit of checking over 10-year period, they saw that design-led companies, or those that employ design thinking, went up by 228%. So that those numbers are really important and great. So there is a huge amount of money to be made, but that's not all. I mean, you have a lot of you can create new products and services. 80% of those companies, some increase in market share, and so on and so forth. The numbers tell a story, and that's amazing, beautiful to hear. But if we stop at just numbers, that's not leadership. Leadership is much more than that. It is about unlocking different kinds of value, like the functional value, emotional value, life-changing values, social impact. So that's the kind of values that we are looking at. So there, Bain and Company put together what kind of values that we can look at from across all of those levels. If you apply Maslow's hierarchy of needs with the value pyramid, you kind of look at different kinds of elements that are there. So is our product or service, our system or process solving those for those values is something that we can look at. That's where design comes in to the picture, because when you lead by design, you are able to have those tools necessary to create these kind of outcomes, which are numbers plus also value driven. What is design? Design is the intent behind an outcome, and that's what it is. So we always have an outcome, but you have an intent towards it, towards a certain outcome. That's what we call as design. But there's four specific things that really help us, four methods that can help us lead by design: researching, building up scenarios, futures thinking, as well as creating prototypes. So when you look at research, you can look at specifically on people, how they think, how they go about their daily business, their behaviors. What are their needs? So you kind of look at per people at that level of detail. Look at how you can personalize for them. You can even draw out empathy, which is more of a soft concept, into something you can use to understand people much more deeply. But you can also research it at a much larger level. You kind of look at people at a much larger level. All the different kinds of people that are there, the customers, the consumers, the partners. Along with that, look at the whole business. How does that exist in brands, in the way they're seen in the markets? What kind of culture that we are in and that we are building in, and the planet as well. So we kind of research at all of those levels, and that's when you get the real meat with which to work. Going further, look at the macro environment. When you look at this large-scale research, we are talking about all of these things. We're looking at social, legal, ethical, environmental, economical, political, technological, all of these trends that are out there. What are they saying to us? What are the signals that they're giving? So that when you kind of do research at that level is when you are able to make a difference in the world of today. That research gives us scenarios, different kinds of scenarios that you can see and visualize in the next 6 months, next 2 years, next 10 years, and next 50 years. So draw up those scenarios, those stories that could be realities. And the use of these tools called scenarios helps us see that into the future. That gets us to what is called as futures thinking. And futures thinking is about looking at all kinds of horizons into the far future. What happens 50 years later? Elon Musk has already released the first versions of brain-machine interface. It's not even into the far future. I don't know if you guys saw the video where a monkey was operating a ping pong game on a computer. I don't know if you guys saw that. So, using thoughts, we can control a computer today, and a monkey could do that. And That's where we are today. Is that future enough for us? It's probably not. It's today. So what does that mean to the future? What does it mean to the near future? How do you speculate what's going on? So that's where the future's thinking comes in. And the way to do that is what we call as backcasting. So you could look at the different possible futures that are out there, the different plausible futures, but you can also create and narrate a preferred future. How do you want the world to be, say in 2035? That's your preferred future. As a startup, I would encourage all of us to think that way. Think of a preferred future that you want to offer to the world. How does the social climate look like? How does the political, technological, how does the environment look like? All of these parameters. Create that preferred future. And from there, instead of forecasting, you sort of backcast from there. Look from there to create actions that are needed towards creating that particular future. And therefore, what kind of implications that we need to do today to get to that preferred future is what we can use. And to do that, you also can create great prototypes that tell stories that you can play with, you can share with, with your with the extended set of stakeholders. This is one such prototype that I want to very quickly show to you. And this is about future of automobiles, and see the way it takes us. It's great, isn't it? So to have this kind of a city of tomorrow. So this is a prototype that Ford came up with when they encountered the question, how does the automobile of the future look like? The automobile of the future is going to change the way cities are going to be. And that's what we mean. So the prototype can be of any form. It can be a video, it can be a Lego block, it can be drawings, it can be anything, as long as people are able to relate to it. So that brings us to the most important question of all that I want to ask all of you. What sort of world do you want to create? Because it's not about your product or service, it's about you creating a new world. And what sort of world do you want to create? So that's what I wanted to share with all of you. Thank you so much. With that, I come to the end of what I wanted to share. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Sudhindra. Thank you for sharing the fundamentals of purpose-driven innovation that helps us redesign our thinking for problem solving and finding solutions that do good for all, and taking the teams along and the community at large. So thanks for sharing your 4-step approach to lead by design. I personally enjoyed the example of Patagonia apparel and the Ford VTO that you just showed about how the near future could look like. So thank you again, Sudhindra.
Thank you.